In this video, I want to demonstrate using the new test generator from Shift. Now, I got permission from Breakout Games, which is a real-world, running in production website that wanted to backfill some of their tests. And this gives me an opportunity not only to demonstrate the generator, but also demonstrate writing tests for Laravel, specifically an existing Laravel application. So let's go ahead and go through the Shift process. I'll sign in with my GitHub account, and this is the Breakout Games website. So let me pull this from their remote information, and this is just going to be the vendor and project. So in this case, Breakout Games and their Breakout website. And I'm also going to shift off a previous shift that they're working on for the Laravel 6.0 release. So I want to branch my work off that work, but Shift automatically creates a new branch anyways, so you're welcome to just branch directly off master or develop or whatever else. Now, right now I'm connected as GitHub, so that's good. That's where everything is. I'm going to go check out and run, and I'm able to just run this Shift without necessarily paying that $15 because, of course, not only am I the creator of Shift, but I have an unlimited plan to all shifts. So let's run this. It'll start running in the dashboard. So with the magic of video editing, I'm going to fast forward just for a few seconds to let this finish so we can look at the pull request. All right, looks like it's done. Let's check out the pull request it created. So Shift opens everything up in a pull request with nice atomic commits and makes comments for anything that it may not have done that you need to check manually. So let's just start at the top here. Basically, this generates models, HTTP tests, unit tests, and the test case stubs for all the code paths it found in the application. So just kind of browsing through the files real quick, we can see that it bumped up the PHP unit versions. It added some helper libraries to generate model factories and test assertions that the Shift will use. It also generated the model factories, like it said, so we see a bunch of these. Let's scroll down to the actual code. So here we go. Here's an example of an HTTP test that was generated for their API, the bookings controller. And it goes in and looks for all the different controller actions and analyzes them to determine the type of request that it should make. In this case, it looks like it's a post JSON. It uses the right route. It knows to pass in the right data. It automatically generates that data using a factory. And then gives you some placeholder assertions to make, and then of course additional assertions you might want to do for your specific actions. And that's what we're going to fill in probably with some live stream and future videos. I'll demonstrate some of that. So this is what it generates, and it generates this for the entire application. So we can see all sorts of other controllers here, the gifts controllers, the marketing controller, all sorts of things within their application. So let's see if there's anything else that it also generates. Looks like there's some unit tests here for the console commands. So again, same concept. It figures out generation of the sitemap, makes sure that it ran, and then of course there can be additional things here. So for example, we can make sure that this command outputs a new sitemap.xml, I'm guessing. So we'll find out. Let's go back and take a look at those comments. So it looks like the PHP unit file is just a little different than the default Laravel 6 version. That might be because there's some changes or some customizations, so we'll definitely take a look at that here in a minute. It generated 7 model factories, great, 12 controllers, 1 command, we saw that. It looks like, okay, so Shift set the basic PHP unit values inside of there, so again, we'll test that. I don't believe their project is using Laravel Telescope, but if it is, it looks like I just want to make sure to disable that in the PHP unit XML file. So good information here. And then, of course, like I said before, if you're really new to testing or if you want to really beef up your testing skills, you can definitely check out my Confident Laravel video course. So again, going to demonstrate as much as I can here, but again, much more in depth in that full video course. There's like 40 videos, there's bonus videos, there's QA sessions, there's all sorts of stuff available to you there. So let's go ahead and follow this. So we want to check out this Shift branch. So let me go back to the command line and let's do a git fetch origin, make sure we pull down the latest branches. So there it is. So now I can just reference that directly. So git checkout. Boom, cool, and now we have everything. And in the background while we're doing some other stuff, I'm going to run composer update ignore platform recs. And what this is going to do is ignore the platform requirements. I haven't updated my system to PHP 7.2 just yet. And there's also some other dependencies that this project has. So by passing this, I can kind of trick Composer into thinking I have everything that's necessary. So again, we'll let that run in the background to get those new dependencies and so forth before we start running the tests. But in the meantime, let's take a look at that PHP unit file and kind of see what might be a little bit off here. Okay, so there's actually some things I can tell right away that were added for Laravel 6.0 that actually are no longer in existence. So what I'm going to do is go back to the PR and I'm going to click the link that's provided to a example of the files that are kind of in a default Laravel 6.0 project. This is something that Shift has and maintains for all the different versions, just to have a copy of those to make it really easy. So I'm just going to copy this because I know they don't have any tests right now. So let's just get the raw version of this. I'm going to copy the thing wholesale and actually change this all the way up to the top. Because again, I know they don't have any current tests. So I just want to make sure that I merge this, I remove things that are inaccurate, I change these servers to envs, or vice versa, the envs to server. We can see that Laravel Shift did that, and Laravel did that as well, but some of the old usages were using the env directive instead. So let's just change these. In fact, we don't need that anymore, so Q driver is now Q connection, so that's definitely old. Let's take that out. Mail driver is already set. The Q connection, session driver, all those are fine. And let's change this to server and server. Good. Okay, so these are the connections. The database connection is going to be SQLite, and the database is going to be a memory database, an in-memory database. This is so theoretically your tests run quicker. That may not be the case for really large applications. We'll start here, though, and kind of see how that works. And here's that telescope enabled false. So all these were kind of mentioned in that PR. So now that I've done that, just a little bit of trickery here, or I guess kind of a preference I like to do with the Shift as I kind of go through is I either kind of give this a reaction that I've fixed it, or in this case there's a checkbox, but I kind of actually like to remove the clutter. I know I'm the only one working on this, so I'm just going to get rid of these other things. We know it generated all those factories. That's nice. I'm just going to remove these comments because there's no references here. They're just information. So I'm just going to kind of whittle this down. Again, I could use emojis if I wanted to, but okay, so this was where it said that it configured with a basic SQLite test database. That's totally fine. We're going to start there anyways. Here's that telescope enabled. We saw that. And the video, of course, well, I made that, so I don't need to watch it. Okay, good. So now we can just focus on adding new commits here. So let's just do that. So let's actually try to run vendor bin PHP unit. And let's just kind of see how far we get. Oh, there we go. See, I'm still on an old version of PHP, so that's actually not going to fly on my machine. Let me go back to the code, and let's just kind of, again, trick Composer. Well, not trick in this case. Let's actually downgrade this to 7.5, which I believe is still PHP 7.1 compatible. And I'm going to need to go back and run Composer update again. So I'll fast forward this with some video editing. Okay, great. So nothing was really affected here. Again, everything just related to PHP unit. So that should be fine and not really affect the tests or the version 6 of Laravel or any of the other dependencies. So I'm okay there. Again, this is just for my machine. So let's run that vendor bin PHP unit again and kind of see how far we get. Great, look, so out of the box, everything is actually running. We see some things here with this no class found. But for the most part, the tests run, so that's actually pretty awesome. Again, that I can just check out that test generation. I suddenly have, 36 different tests, all sorts of different warnings. Now, they are firing as incomplete, so let's look at that first, and then let's try to get rid of this warning as well. So let's bring up some of these tests. So for the first part, let's bring up this booking controller test. So this might be the one that they actually had already in existence. So let's bring up some of the ones that Shift generated. So we can see here that Shift actually marks this test as incomplete. This is a built-in PHP unit method that allows you to create that incomplete test. And that's what we're seeing here with these eyes. So all of them are coming out as incomplete. So that's what's happening here. So the goal here is that basically when I do start working on this particular test, which I'll do in a future video, we'll basically remove this and hopefully turn that into a passing test here, which will be represented by these dots. So that's going to be the goal of these future videos. I'm going to do some that aren't necessarily recorded, but I will continue kind of on with one from each one of these sections. So I'll make sure to do some for controllers, to do some for the unit tests that were generated. I'll update some of the model factories. I'll make sure that I kind of get a little bit of each one of the different testing areas. And then maybe I'll do another live stream on refactoring. But before we finish this one, let's just clean up this little bit here. And I'm actually going to run PHP with a little bit more verbosity so I can kind of see what's going on here. So we get all of those incomplete tests that are coming out. So we see that this test case was generated by Shift, blah, blah. We already talked about that. Let's scroll up and see where that warning was. That's what I was most interested in. Here we go. No test found in class test feature booking controller test. Okay, there's our issue. So test, feature, and yes, there it is. It's this one from before. It looks like there were some tests that were attempted here, but it's all commented out. It doesn't run. So I'm actually going to remove that. It's not following the structure that I kind of want to mirror the app structure. So that's how the shift runs. So for example, controllers are underneath HTTP controllers and then here. So we'll be able to see them easily by following down that same directory structure. So sometimes people like to put feature tests high level here. That's totally fine. But again, since Shift generated a bunch of these, I don't want to go renaming all of them. I'm just going to follow its convention. So with that said, let's get rid of this old test and let's run these again without that verbosity and just make sure we're only getting those incomplete tests now. Great. And this is where we'll stop. So let me just finish up with a git commit here. So let's do git add -p. I don't want to add that PHP unit change, so I'm going to say no here. I will add the updating. Actually, I don't want to add the composer lock file, none of it, because that would include the PHP unit downgrading. So I'm going to say D here to skip all that. I do want to update this vendor auto load, and I do want to update all of those PHP unit configuration bits. Great. So those are all my changes. Ooh, this actually includes removing that test. Let's actually reset that real quick. I'll talk about that here in just a second. So let me just unstage that. And let's run git status again, which is just GST for me. Okay, good. So it's only this PHP unit bit. So let me just do a nice atomic commit here. Update PHP unit config. Great. All right, and then now let's do a git remove on that test feature booking controller test. So you kind of heard me say it already, but I really like to have atomic commits. So remove old tests, especially when I'm removing code, just in case there was a need, even though all that code was commented out, just in case there was a need to revive it or there was something there someone wants to reference, it's going to be in this nice, clean atomic commit, hopefully with enough of a message to see that, oh, we removed the old tests. So let me just push this up to origin head. And this is just a nice shorthand to say whatever branch I'm currently on, so it knows to convert that to shift -19187. And I've got a nice little handy command here of git open. That's just going to reopen that PR, or well, in this case, it opens the branch. We already have the PR open, so let's go back to that. And we'll see that I'm just going to continue to add more changes. So again, we'll stop here. I think I'll do a live stream where I start working on some of these. And again, I'll try to make sure to demonstrate each of the different areas that were generated, the factories, the controllers, the console tests, and maybe even a little refactoring. So again, thanks to Breakout Games for kind of allowing me to use their project, one of their Laravel projects, as a case study for adding tests to an existing code base. So thanks for watching and keep an eye out for future videos.